She got bored. Bored of our quiet life, of my steady love, of everything we built together. So she walked away, spent her time with other men, searching for something new, something exciting. And when she felt empty, she thought she could just walk back into my life. But she was wrong. It was a Wednesday night, just another quiet, uneventful evening in our small, cozy apartment. The warm aroma of Thai takeout filled the air, a familiar comfort that we'd shared so many times before. I was halfway through my pad Thai, the noodles slick with sweet and tangy sauce, when she said it. "I think we need a break." Her voice was steady, almost too steady, like she'd practiced those words in her head a dozen times before. I paused, chopsticks frozen mid-air, the flavor of the dish suddenly tasting bland. "A break?" I repeated, my voice even, but my mind was already racing. "Yeah, I need some time to figure things out, to find myself," she continued, her eyes avoiding mine. I didn't explode, didn't panic. That's just not who I am. I've always been steady, dependable. I own my house, have a solid career in IT, and like to keep things simple. Drama wasn't my thing. But even with all my calm, there was a bitter chill creeping into the room. "Fine," I said, setting down my chopsticks carefully, almost too carefully. "Take all the time you need, but this is my house, so you'll need to figure out where you're staying." Her eyes widened, the shock clear. She wasn't expecting that. Maybe she thought I would beg, plead, fight for her to stay, but I wasn't about to do any of that. If she was unsure about me, why should I be the one waiting around, hoping she'd make up her mind? "Wait, seriously?" she asked, her voice trembling now. "Yes, seriously." For a moment, we just stared at each other, the silence between us thicker than the steam rising from the forgotten takeout. She blinked, her lips parting like she wanted to argue, but no words came out. Maybe she thought I was bluffing, but I wasn't. "Okay," she whispered, her voice small now. She got up, walked to the bedroom, and I heard the sound of drawers opening and closing, the quiet shuffle of her packing. I didn't move. I didn't follow. I just sat there, staring at the half-eaten pad Thai, my appetite completely gone. It didn't feel like some tragic, emotional scene. It was more like a dull ache, a sense of quiet disappointment. 20 minutes later, she appeared at the door, a suitcase in one hand, her purse in the other. She looked at me, hesitated. I stood up, walked over, and opened the door without a word. "Noah," she began, her voice wavering, but I didn't want to hear it. Whatever excuse, whatever justification she had, it didn't matter. I just nodded toward the hallway. "Take care, Emily." And with that, she left. I stood there for a long minute after she was gone, the cold air from the hallway pressing against my face. Then I closed the door, locked it, and walked back to the table. The room was quiet now, painfully so. I sat down again, staring at the takeout containers. The sweet aroma that had once been comforting now felt sickening. I shoved the food aside, leaned back, and closed my eyes. "I think we need a break." The words replayed in my mind, over and over. What did they even mean? I thought things were fine. We didn't have big fights, no screaming matches, no drama. We were just together. Or so I thought. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I had mistaken stability for happiness. Maybe I had been so focused on keeping things simple that I hadn't noticed her slowly pulling away. The next day, I woke up early, out of habit. 6 a.m, just like always. I went to the gym, put in my usual workout, came home, showered, and made coffee. The house was quieter, but I told myself that was a good thing. I went to work, buried myself in client projects, answered emails, attended virtual meetings. No one could tell that anything had changed in my life, and for a while, it didn't feel like anything had. until the evenings came. It was the quiet that got to me. The absence of her voice, her laughter, even the little things she used to complain about. The place felt emptier, but I forced myself not to dwell on it. A few days later, I packed up the few things she left behind: her toothbrush, her favorite hoodie she always stole from me, and a worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. I put them in a box and shoved it into the hallway closet. If she wanted her stuff, she could ask for it. I wasn't going to chase her down. I wasn't angry, not really. More disappointed. Disappointed that instead of talking to me, instead of working things out, she chose to run, to find herself. But maybe that was for the best, because while she was out there searching for whatever it was she thought she needed, I was here, learning something else entirely. I was learning what it felt like to be free. Days turned into weeks, and the quiet of my empty apartment became something else, a sort of calm I hadn't felt in a long time. At first, it was strange, waking up to nothing but silence. No sounds of Emily's morning routine, no scent of her favorite lavender shampoo lingering in the bathroom. Just me, the hum of my coffee maker, and the faint glow of sunlight slipping through the curtains. But soon, that silence wasn't so bad. It was peaceful. I fell into a rhythm. Up at 6, straight to the gym, where I pushed myself harder than ever. No distractions, no texts asking when I'd be home or if I could pick up something on the way back. Just me, the iron weights, and the steady thud of my running shoes against the treadmill. At work, I was more focused. Projects that used to drag on now seemed to fly by. My boss even noticed, dropping by my office one afternoon with a smile. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up, Noah. Your productivity's through the roof," he said. "Thanks," I replied with a grin, but all I could think was how strange it felt, how freeing it was not to be constantly wondering what Emily was thinking, if she was happy, if I was doing enough. Because now, it didn't matter. On weekends, I filled my time with things I'd almost forgotten I enjoyed. I dusted off my old guitar, fingers stumbling at first, but quickly finding their way again. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in months, spending lazy afternoons watching football or grabbing drinks at our favorite bar. "Man, you seem lighter," my friend Alex said one night, sipping his beer as we leaned against the bar. "I don't know what changed, but I like this version of you." "Yeah," I nodded, a small smile playing at my lips. "So do I." And I meant it. It was as if I had been living in the shadow of someone else's expectations for so long that I hadn't even realized it. Now, without that weight, I could breathe. I could just be. But of course, nothing stays quiet forever. It started with a text, a simple, almost casual message that appeared on my phone one Friday evening as I was cleaning up after dinner. "Emily. Hey, can we talk?" I stared at the screen, a part of me expecting this to happen sooner or later. But I didn't reply. Not right away. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. But I also wasn't ready to open that door again. I slid my phone into my pocket and went about my night. The next day, another text. "Emily. I really need to talk to you. Please." Still, I didn't respond. It wasn't about being cold or cruel. It was about protecting the peace I had found. I knew what she would say, the apologies, the explanations, the tears. But I didn't need them. I didn't need her to validate my feelings, and I didn't need her to fill that empty space she left behind. Because it wasn't empty anymore. It was mine. A week passed before I finally caved. Not because I missed her, but because I wanted closure. I wanted to look her in the eye and see if she had changed. If she had truly found herself, or just found out that the grass wasn't greener on the other side. We agreed to meet at the park downtown. The same park where we used to spend lazy Sunday afternoons, sprawled out on a picnic blanket talking about everything and nothing. But this time was different. I arrived early, of course. I always did. A light breeze rustled the autumn leaves, scattering shades of red and gold across the path. I sipped my coffee, letting the warm steam rise against the crisp air. And then I saw her. Emily. Her hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and she wore that old, oversized sweater she always loved. But she looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but in the way she walked, the way her eyes searched the park until they found me. "Noah," she breathed, a slight smile tugging at her lips. "Emily," I replied, my voice calm, steady. We sat on a bench, a safe distance between us. For a moment, there was just silence, the gentle rustle of leaves filling the space between us. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. I was wrong. I thought I needed space, but all I did was run away from everything that mattered. I didn't say anything, just watched her, letting her words spill out. I thought I was missing something, that maybe there was more out there, something I needed to find. But the truth is, I was just afraid. Afraid of settling, afraid of feeling stuck, but instead of talking to you, I ran. "I hurt you." I nodded. "Yeah, you did." Her eyes glistened, her fingers twisting in her lap. "I've missed you, Noah. I really have. I miss us." United States, a word that once meant something, but now it felt distant. I took a slow breath, the cool air filling my lungs. "You know, Emily, when you left, I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe I wasn't enough. But then I realized it wasn't about me. It was about you, and I won't apologize for not waiting around while you figured that out." Her face fell, a tear slipping down her cheek. "So, is there no chance for us?" "No," I said simply, my voice gentle but firm. "There isn't." She let out a shaky breath, wiping her tears. "I understand. I deserve that." "Take care of yourself, Emily," I said, standing up. And just like that, I walked away. But this time, I didn't feel empty. I didn't feel regret. I felt free. Walking away from Emily that day should have felt like an ending. But to me, it felt like a beginning. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel trapped in the what-ifs or the lingering doubts. I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight of someone else's indecision. I was free. In the weeks that followed, that freedom became something I embraced. I started saying yes to things I had always put off. I signed up for a weekend hiking trip with Alex and a few of our old college buddies, something I used to turn down because Emily never liked the outdoors. I found myself standing on a mist-covered mountain trail one chilly morning, the crisp air filling my lungs, the world stretching out beneath me like a painting. "You okay, man?" Alex asked, slapping me on the back, his breath misting in the cold. I smiled. Never better. And I meant it. For the first time, I wasn't just existing. I was living. Back home, my apartment became more than just a quiet space. It was my sanctuary. I redecorated, swapping out the faded throw pillows Emily had insisted on for something brighter. I bought a few houseplants, learned how to keep them alive, and even picked up a canvas and some paints, letting my long-forgotten love for sketching come back to life. I found myself at the local art store one Saturday, browsing brushes and paints when a voice broke through my thoughts. "That's a good choice. If you're going for a bold look," the girl behind the counter smiled, her bright blue eyes sparkling. Her name was Rachel. She had a warmth about her, the kind of energy that drew people in. We struck up a conversation, and before I knew it, I was walking out of the store with a bag full of supplies. And her phone number. I didn't call her right away. I didn't want to rush into anything, but I also didn't want to let this new chapter slip by. So a week later, I texted her. We met for coffee, which turned into dinner, which turned into hours of laughing, talking, and walking along the city's riverfront. Rachel was nothing like Emily. She didn't play games, didn't leave me guessing. She was honest, open, and confident. And most importantly, she liked me for who I was, not for who she thought I should be. One evening, as we sat by the water, watching the city lights dance on the waves, she leaned against my shoulder and sighed. "You're different, you know. Most guys I've dated, they're always trying to be something they're not. But you're just you." I smiled, wrapping an arm around her. I guess I just finally figured out who I am. Being with Rachel didn't feel like a game, didn't feel like I was trying to meet some impossible standard. It felt easy, natural. But of course, life has a way of testing you just when you think you've moved on. It happened one rainy Sunday afternoon. I was cleaning out the hallway closet when I stumbled across that old box. The one with Emily's things. Her toothbrush, her favorite hoodie, that worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. I hadn't thought about her in weeks, but seeing those little reminders brought back memories. I stared at the box for a moment, then grabbed it, opened the front door, and walked straight to the dumpster outside. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I dropped the box in, watched it sink among the garbage bags, and walked back inside. When I closed the door, I felt a strange sense of finality, like I had just closed the last lingering chapter of that part of my life. I didn't hate Emily. I didn't resent her. I just didn't need her anymore. A few days later, I was sitting on the couch, laughing with Rachel as we tried to figure out which takeout to order, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Emily. "Emily, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm moving. I got a new job in another city. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're doing well." I stared at the message, feeling nothing. Not sadness, not anger, just a quiet, simple peace. I thought for a moment, then typed a reply. "Me. Thank you. I wish you the best, Emily." And that was it. I turned back to Rachel, who was giggling over the outrageous sushi options on the menu, and leaned closer, wrapping an arm around her. "Hey, you want to try that crazy dragon roll thing?" she asked, looking up at me with those bright blue eyes. "Sure," I laughed. "Why not?" Because that was who I was now, a guy who said yes to new things, a guy who didn't dwell on the past, didn't cling to what-ifs or regrets, a guy who knew his worth and wasn't afraid to walk away from anything, or anyone who didn't. Sitting there with Rachel, watching her light up as she talked about her latest art project, I realized something. It wasn't that Emily had held me back. It was that I had held myself back, letting her indecision make me doubt my own value. But not anymore. Now, I was living my life on my own terms, and it felt pretty damn good. Life with Rachel felt like a breath of fresh air. We spent our weekends exploring the city, trying new restaurants, and even started a little weekend tradition of visiting the farmer's market. She'd wander through the stalls, her fingers brushing against fresh flowers, her eyes lighting up at the smell of freshly baked bread. One sunny Saturday, as we strolled through the bustling market, she slipped her hand into mine, her touch warm and comforting. "I love this," she whispered, leaning her head against my shoulder. "I love us." And I did too. But as much as I was enjoying this new chapter, there was a part of me that wondered if it was too good to be true. Because life has a way of testing you just when you think you finally got it figured out. It started ASA normal, Monday morning. I was at my desk, sifting through emails when my phone buzzed, a notification from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me open it. "Hey Noah, it's Emily. I know this is probably unexpected, but I'm in town for a few days. Would you be open to meeting for coffee? I'd really appreciate it." I stared at the message, a mix of surprise and annoyance flickering through me. Why now? What did she want? I thought about ignoring it, deleting it, pretending it never happened. But something in me, maybe a need for final closure, made me type a response. Sure. Tomorrow at 6, the coffee shop on Main. The next day, I told Rachel about it. Her reaction was as steady as ever. Do you want me to come with you? She asked, her voice calm but curious. No, I smiled, leaning in to kiss her forehead. I've got this. It's just something I need to finish. At 5:55 p.m., I walked into the small coffee shop on Main. The familiar smell of roasted beans filled the air, the gentle hum of quiet conversations creating a cozy atmosphere. I ordered a black coffee and chose a table by the window, watching the street outside. 5 minutes later, the door chimed, and there she was, Emily. She looked different, not drastically, but in a way that spoke of time and change. Her hair was shorter, a soft wave framing her face, and she wore a simple green sweater that seemed almost too big for her. Noah, she greeted me with a tentative smile. Emily, I replied, keeping my voice even. She sat down, her hands wrapping around her coffee cup like it was some kind of lifeline. For a moment, there was nothing but silence between us, the quiet hum of the cafe filling the space. I wasn't sure if you'd show up, she admitted, her eyes fixed on the steam rising from her cup. I wasn't sure if I would either, I replied, leaning back in my chair. But here we are. She nodded, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. I know it's been a while. I wanted to see you, to see how you're doing. I'm doing well, I said, my tone calm. Really well. I'm glad, she whispered, a hint of sadness in her voice. You look happy. I am, I replied. I really am. Silence settled between us again, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fill it. I was fine with the quiet. I was fine with the distance. You know, when I left, I thought I was making the right choice, she continued, her voice growing softer. I thought I needed to figure out who I was, to see if there was something more out there, but all I found was emptiness. That's usually what happens when you search for happiness outside of yourself, I said, taking a slow sip of my coffee. She winced a little, but nodded. I know. I learned that the hard way. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. This was her closure, not mine. I made mistakes, Noah. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry for that. I guess I just needed to tell you that. I leaned forward, setting my cup down. I appreciate the apology, Emily, but I've moved on. I'm in a good place now, and I hope you find that too. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she smiled, a sad but genuine smile. Thank you. I'm happy for you. I stood up, signaling the end of the conversation. Take care, Emily. As I walked out of the cafe, I didn't look back. The air was cool, a light breeze rustling the leaves along the sidewalk. And, with every step, I felt lighter. I had expected that meeting to be a storm, emotions, regrets, anger. But instead, it was just a quiet moment in a coffee shop, a memory that would fade like steam rising from a cup. When I got home, Rachel was curled up on the couch, a book in her hands. She looked up, her smile warm and welcoming. Hey, how did it go? She asked, patting the space next to her. I sat down, wrapped an arm around her, and pulled her close. It went exactly as it needed to. We didn't talk about it again. There was nothing more to say. Emily was part of my past, and my future was right here, resting her head on my shoulder, her fingers tracing gentle circles on my chest. Over the next few weeks, life continued to flow, but I noticed something different. I was happier, yes, but also more confident, more sure of who I was. With Rachel, I didn't feel the need to prove myself, didn't feel the pressure to be someone I wasn't. I could just be me, and that made all the difference. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over the city, I found myself standing on the balcony with Rachel. She leaned against the railing, her hair dancing in the soft breeze. "You know," I whispered, wrapping my arms around her from behind, "I used to think I had to hold on to people. That letting go meant losing." "And now?" she asked, leaning back against me. "Now I know that sometimes letting go is how you make room for something better." She turned, her eyes meeting mine, and for a moment, everything was silent. Just the two of us, the soft hum of the city below, and the quiet, steady rhythm of our hearts. A year passed faster than I expected. The seasons shifted, leaves turned gold and crimson before falling, and winter swept in with its crisp air. Life with Rachel was everything I never knew I needed, calm, honest, and full of quiet, joyful moments. One rainy Sunday, we were curled up on the couch, a blanket draped over us, watching the rain streak down the window. Her head rested on my shoulder, her fingers laced with mine. I wasn't just happy. I was at peace. "Hey," she whispered, pulling away just enough to look at me. "Have you ever thought about us? You know, where this is going?" I smiled, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "All the time." "Really?" Her eyes sparkled, a mix of excitement and hope. "Yeah. Rachel, I want a life with you. I want to wake up next to you, explore new places, build a home together. I've never been so sure of anything." Tears filled her eyes, but they were tears of joy. "I love you, Noah. I love you too." And just like that, I realized how far I'd come, how much I had changed. There was a time when I thought love meant holding on, even when it hurt. But now, I knew it meant choosing someone every single day, someone who chose you back. Weeks turned into months, and Rachel and I found our own little place, a cozy apartment with a view of the river. Our days were filled with laughter, lazy mornings, spontaneous road trips, and quiet evenings painting together. My old life, the one with Emily, felt like a distant memory, a chapter that had ended exactly as it should have. One evening, as we sat in the balcony watching the sunset, Rachel leaned against me, a soft sigh escaping her lips. "I'm so glad you walked into that art store." "Me too," I whispered, pulling her closer. But it wasn't just about the art store. It was about letting go of the past, about learning my worth, and about choosing happiness over fear. Emily had once tried to find herself, but I was the one who did. I found myself in the quiet moments, in the calm after the storm, and in the arms of a woman who loved me for who I was. Sometimes losing someone you thought you needed is the best thing that can happen, because it makes room for the one you truly deserve. And with Rachel beside me, I had everything I needed.